Today's video is sponsored by Land Air Sea. Keep tabs on all your valuable assets from the palm of your hand. Remember, with Land Air Sea, theft is temporary. Visit landairSea.com to order your Land Air Sea GPS unit for your classic vehicle.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Jeff and I'm here with Lance of Superformance, and today we're going to be looking at a GT40, right? So Lance, do you mind walking us through this car that we have in front of us today?
Okay, that's going to be another pleasure because, as I say, the GT40 was probably the top point for our company to finally develop the GT40, and we all along knew the car had to be right, and we didn't want to come with a replica or a kit car or anything like that. We had to have the endorsements of all the right names, and it took over 6 years to get everything right and the licenses in place. This is actually licensed by Safa GT40, who own the trademark GT40, and that's why Ford's car was called a Ford GT and not the GT40. We were the licensed company at the time, and they wanted to stay with a GT40. So this is buying a new one from us, is buying a new GT40. It's not a replica or a continuation or anything of that. It's a new GT40. It's built exactly the same as what they were back in the 60s when Ford built them between 64 and 69. Built approximately 90, 95 GT40s. We've done over 500 GT40s.
Oh, wow.
The car is all correct. It's steel monocoque all the way around. It's not fiberglass like a lot of them, and a lot of the different companies have made the frame differently. This is a steel pressed monocoque with the wells, everything done like they did the GT40 back in the 60s.
Wow.
We build most of the versions, not all, sorry. We built most of the versions. We built the narrow body street car that came out in 64 early with the little wire wheels. Okay. We built that with a street car interior. Right. What else is there? Todd, you did the car, but I mean, everything's correct on the little street car that we do. It's very pretty, and we've had quite a few customers like them. But the most popular one is the based on this car, but it's a slightly narrower hip. It's our traditional body. That's what we built the most of. The guys have gone from anything from also again a 289 to a 302 to 427, and of course the modern Coyote based engines that I'll talk a little more about. This car is actually a wide body, what we call a wide body. It has the wider body, and it usually has 13-inch wide rear wheels on the back.
Smokes.
Yeah, in 15-inch. So about when Ford came out with the 2016 Ford GT and went to Le Mans and won against the Ferraris again 50 years later. Very proud day. I was there, and it was just amazing to be with the Ford family, with the Shelby family. Aaron Shelby was there. You know, it's just incredible, and his brothers were there. It was an incredible experience. So we came out with an edition which we called the Future 40. We took our traditional GT40 in narrow and wide hip and offered it in the Ford GT race colors. And the first one was developed by Doug Campbell, who works for us, and he really wanted the car so badly, and he wanted it with an EcoBoost engine. So we did that with a twin turbo V6 EcoBoost engine. It was debuted at SEMA. We had Mario Andretti, we had everybody around the car. It was in the Baller booth. Doug would have to correct me, but I believe that where it was a good couple of years ago. And it was voted the car of SEMA that year. Everybody went crazy for the car. I did this one for myself. The difference I tell is mine's slightly wider. Mine has number 69 on. Doug's car has number 68 on. And that's how it was in 68 as opposed to 69. It's the wider body, and I went with a Illuminator Coyote supercharged in it. So it's approximately 650 horsepower. And it's just lightning fast. It's very smooth. I'm used to the GT40s with the pushrod engines, and the pushrod engines vibrate, and you know, you've got this rough torque, and they're animals in the cars, but they're cool. Let me tell you now, the fun with this car and the sound from that pushrod engine through the bundle of snakes, you know, it's just a unique sound. When you go to the modern engine, it's smooth, revs to 8,500 RPM. It is fast as it's just nuts. Only weighs 2,450 pounds, and it's really, really fast with this setup. But in the other GT40s, we do, of course, the 1966 cars that you saw in the Ford versus Ferrari movie. We supplied them, and the Mark IIs that you see in the movie came from us. And that had was known as the American GT40. The back was different, had the snorkels. Carroll developed all that to get more air in for the cooling of the brakes, for the cooling of the oil coolers. It had the FE engine in, so it had the big block in. Very successful. Ken Miles, of course, winning the race, and well, Chris Amon, they say, won the race, but we all think Ken Miles won that race. And that's been a very popular edition, the GT40 Mark II. And then these, of course, look more like the GT40s that won in 68 and 69.
Yeah, this is based off a Mark I, right?
Yeah, based off a Mark I, correct. Very popular car. And the other difference we did do, we've got, a little more comfortable inside, but it's still traditional. Our seats have a little more padding, and we have air conditioning. That comes factory standard in all of them.
Yeah, that's a huge plus.
Yeah. And with the Future 40, of course, we went to modern wheels, so now you could get more modern rubber, so the car's got incredible grip. We've had lots of different magazines and test drivers drive this car in different conditions, and they say and these are guys that have drifted cars and stuff like this, and they just say it's the craziest car, it wants to kill you, it's just stupid fast, it makes incredible sound. I think this one we could just get it takes a little, I don't like to rev it when it's cold because it runs very high oil pressure. Oh no, they took the keys out. Might have to do that another day. But if you can imagine 8,000 RPM coming out of this exhaust system, it's the highest pitch. It's just crazy. You always hear Lamborghini guys revving their cars and making noises. And when I go to shows, my friends already know about this car. And when they hear a Lamborghini guy going crazy, they try and get me close to him. And it just shuts him down. He does not even start his car. He rather pushes it out of the show. He doesn't want it back. The embarrassment of being blown away by it. It is so much louder and so much aggressive and so much stronger sounding. It's an American V8 with high pitch sound. It's a monster.
Yeah, so what all have you done to this one specifically? Obviously, there's some canards on it.
Yeah.
Another carbon splitter.
And then, of course, there's a carbon splitter at the bottom. It's got the canards. This has got a hydraulic front suspension that can lift it up so we can get in and out of driveways. The bigger brakes, it's got the 6-piston Woolworths and 4-piston in the rear, I believe. And then, of course, with the modern drivetrain, air conditioning, it makes a great driver. I have driven this also many times to Miami for car shows, come back late at night. We also went with a more brighter, modern LED style headlamp. It'll sit in traffic at 600 RPM in a gear and just idle along. It's very smooth at low RPM. There's no shaky idle or anything like that. Just a great machine.
Yeah, so that's pretty impressive, honestly. Even fitting AC in a car like this, that makes it very streetable. And obviously, if you want to use a modern drivetrain, so you get all of your modern performance benefits with the classic vintage style, right? And then, of course, if they don't like that, you guys also make the heritage cars as well, right?
Yes, very exciting for us is we launched our tool room copy, and tool room is a terminology that they use in the UK about a car. When they copy a race car from the 60s, 50s, 40s, every nut and bolts copied, they call it a tool room copy. And we went ahead with that. And we did it to 1075, the GT40 that won Le Mans 2 years in a row. Famous Gulf-colored GT40.
Yep.
It took us, the tool room probably took us also around 5 years to develop. The parts on the car all had to be specially manufactured. We had to go back to the old manufacturers that did the brakes back then, the guys that made the gauges. The tool room car was a pretty unique car. They used a lot of aircraft parts in the car, if you can believe it, because they were more reliable, and it had to last 24 hours. So your lights, the lights that were on the side of the tool room car, all that came from old aircraft, British aircraft. So it was a mission doing that car. We're really proud of it. We've sold about 10, 12 of them, or somewhere around there already. We've got an order book until 2025 for the tool room car. It's an extra wide body, so it's wider than this body. It had 14-inch wide GT40 wheels. We numbered it in the 1000 series, which was the original series of GT40s that Safa and Ford built in the 60s and 70s. And it starts with 1175 to match up with the 1075, the most famous GT40.
Okay.
And that's an incredible car, and it's our flagship at the moment. And we've done a couple of tribute versions where it's the same car, but it actually has air conditioning, so guys can drive it. Because the tool room cars are really track-based models. They don't even come with cooling fans. They're just designed to get on a racetrack and go and race.
Yeah, the original
cars. A couple of owners do them. But before we go away, I thought I might start this up for you so you can hear what a crazy GT40 sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not what a tool room would sound like. They have a unique sound, and their sound is beautiful because you're used to Fords having a deep rumbling sound, and the bundle of snakes in the GT40s don't. They make the Ford engine sing at a high note, and the most incredible sound comes back. We had to do a different exhaust system on this because of the Coyote, 4-cam engine. But it has a cool sound. Starts up pretty mild, and you'll see afterwards. We'll just get a little bit of oil pressure here. Engine's not very warm, but I did warm it up a little bit. Okay, let's get this body in here. That's what this monster sounds like.
Yeah, that's aggressive. So just to jump back to the tool room cars, if you can still hear me. Jumping back to the tool room cars. So because those are so focused on design after the original cars, I imagine there's a fair amount of parts that are swappable between those cars as well, right?
That's crazy. The number is anywhere between 80 and 90% of the parts from our cars will fit on an original GT40. The tool room car is almost 100%. Almost 100%. We had to have the Girling brakes remanufactured. Girling doesn't make brakes anymore, but they are made out of tooling that make them look exactly the same. So yes.
Given with the tolerances of maybe their cars were a little bit more inconsistent compared to your cars being more precise.
We're probably a little more precise, but we're doing the welds, the same spot welds, everything that they did originally on a GT40, we did. The GT40s are really interesting. The original cars never came with stamped numbers. They came with a plaque. So there was a lot of switching of plaques in the days.
Oh.
A lot of that. So now owners, when they buy a GT40, they're told, well, I bought this car, and they find out years later, no, it's somewhere along the line it got changed. There's a guy, Ronnie Spain, who's written a book all about the GT40s and has been a historian of the cars for probably 40 years. He's incredible. He's got photographs, and it's almost like the DNA of original GT40s. He's got photographs of all of these bare monocoques and where the welds were done, because they were hand welded. They weren't machines welding them. So if you say you own so-and-so car, he will pull up the original photographs and look at the spacing on the welds inside the monocoque and say, hold on, if I look at that, that's you haven't got that number. That actually matches number so-and-so. So somewhere along the line. And he's probably, in some cases, a very popular guy, and some cases a very unpopular guy, because some people have unfortunately ended up with fakes.
Right.
With original plaques on, or plaques made to look like the originals. And they find out that their car might be one of the famous guys. Subaru, I think his name was, made quite a couple of duplicates of the race cars that got written off and disappeared, and then recreated them. So GT40's got an interesting history, but yeah, that's how exact we went. We went with all the original stuff and worked with Ronnie and people in the UK and famous in North Carolina. Oh. No. From the 60s, that raced the GT40s. Holman and Moody.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Holman and Moody. We worked with Lee Holman. He also helped us on the project originally. And of course, all the original files from FAV, Ford Advanced Vehicles. And then of course, Safa, that had everything we needed to do the GT40. And it's correct. You want to buy one? We have about 20 odd GT40s racing in Europe. You see them at Goodwood, and the guys don't say they're Superformances because, but they are original Superformances racing at Goodwood. Our car is that accurate. They are accepted by FIA.
Yeah, that's impressive. You have, again, the street options, right, with AC, and then you build cars that are good enough to still be raced.
Yeah.
When they want to take them on the track.
And the crazy thing is, you know, most of the guys that knew these cars back in the 60s are now 80 plus years old in a lot of cases. I have a good friend of mine, Ed Boblet, who still drives. He got his GT40 when he turned 80. He's now 85, still driving it. He sends me a picture of the car almost every day that he goes somewhere. He's retired, so he gets to drive it. I struggle. I'm 62 and I'm battling getting in and out of it. He does. He's 85. He's amazing, and he just bought a Daytona. I believe you said you've seen it in Arizona.
Yes, yeah. He takes the cars everywhere.
We got to spend a lot of time with Bob Bonnarant in the later days, the last couple of years, months of his life. I spent a lot of time with Bob too. Just an incredible man, and one of the greats. We're just losing all the best. But yeah,
unfortunately.
So you can even drive one when you're 85. He's not the only 80-plus-year-old man. I've got two guys in San Diego. They do rallies in their cars. They're both over 80 years old with GT40s.
That's amazing. Yeah, especially with how accurate they are. They're just a pleasure on the eyes every time they get taken out as well. So very nice, very nice. So what's the best way to get a hold of a Ford GT40 if somebody's interested in purchasing one? Well,
you just go to superformance.com and all the GT40s are there. We have the Shelby editions on ShelbyLegendaryCars.com, but you can see most information is on superformance.com. Put your information in or go to one of the dealers on the dealer page and find yourself, get your new GT40. Unfortunately, a little bit of a wait. We're filling 2025 right now, so get your deposit in. That holds you a build spot, and you have all the time to make up your mind finally which way to go. But all Superformance cars, you can reserve a build spot, and if you decide you don't want it anymore, there's no charge, and you're fully refunded.
Just gotta wait a little bit if you want the best.
Yeah.
So with that, that's going to be the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed it, could hit that like button for us. Really appreciate it. And consider getting subscribed for more content like that in the future. Thank you so much for watching.